Working on art can be isolating, especially if you're working alone and your studio happens to be in the basement of your own home. It's really important from time to time just to get out of your own head and to just change your schedule a little bit. So, with that idea in mind, I signed up to participate in a workshop. So, a lot of art stores are hosting workshops, and they typically tend to be a bit cheaper than your traditional art class. But it's great for the art store because they are inviting people in who are just their most probable customer. It's really rare to meet someone, an artist, who can go into an art supply store and not be tempted to buy anything. These workshops can be just a great place to meet other artists in your community, to share a space, and just make a mess together in a different environment. This year, I really want to make an effort to connect with more like-minded people. And so for this reason, I signed up for a workshop hosted by Gwartzman's Art Supplies, which is a local art supply store here in downtown Toronto. So the workshop is called Suminagashi, and it's a Japanese technique for marbling paper. I've always loved marbled paper in the end pages of books and just even as sheets of like a beautiful colored pattern. And it's not that I want to be an expert paper marbler. I just am interested to learn new techniques and experiment with color and see what happens. And I know that whatever I end up making, I can always incorporate it into a collage somehow. This video isn't sponsored by Gwartzman's or anyone. I just wanted to share my experience and just show you a little bit about my day in downtown Toronto. So join me as I make my way through Toronto to participate in this workshop. The day turned out to be a bit gray and soggy. Spring is off to a bit of a slow start here in Toronto, but it's just fun to get outside and have a bit of an adventure. The first early plants are starting to emerge, and I love the color of that intense spring green, and the beautiful purple and yellow crocuses are all up, and I just noticed today the first mini irises and hellebores. I really try to avoid driving in the city when I can because traffic and parking is a nightmare. So today I'm taking the subway, or the TTC as it's known in Toronto, to Gwartzman's Art Supplies. Gwartzman's is an institution almost in Toronto. It's considered, I think, to be the oldest art store here, and it's been a family-owned business since the 1950s. It's located on Spadina Avenue near Kensington Market, and Kensington Market is just a really vibrant scene in Toronto. There's just a bunch of little shops and food shops, clothes shops. It's just a really interesting, eclectic neighborhood. I've been going to Gwartzman's for as long as I've been living in Toronto. It was always the place to get pretty good quality and really reasonably priced art materials. There was always a real charming messiness to the interior of the store. There were a lot of posters and drawings tacked up on the walls and the ceilings, and these were made by both employees and also the artists who patronized the store. So Gwartzman's has had a bit of a makeover recently. It's still owned by the same family, but it's now managed by Mr. G's daughter, who undertook some pretty big renovations last year and has really reorganized the store. The store was probably due for a bit of a facelift, but it's inevitably removed some of the character and charm of the old place, but they also have a really great selection of different art supplies that they never used to stock before. The workshop was set up at the back of the store with all the materials provided, and it was taught by Joyce Menard, who started the class by passing out some examples of this really beautiful Suminagashi technique. The marbled paper was gorgeous. It was just really organic. It looked almost like they were cut out rock patterns or cross sections of trees. The color from these water-based inks was not as intense as other paper marbling methods I've seen. Apparently, there's a Turkish method that has the most vivid color, but these samples had a real gentle softness and a delicacy to these patterns that just seemed very calm and peaceful. There's really something special that happens in this technique where you're just sort of experimenting loosely with effects and shapes just emerge. It's what happens when you don't really try hard to render something like exactly. It's these accidental or unexpected marks that have a real freshness and life to them, which is more exciting somehow. So basically there was no mystery to this technique. You just had to carefully suspend the pigmented ink on top of the surface of the water. Sometimes you floated it on this little paper disc, and other times you just used a little drop of surfactant like carrageenan or dish soap. And the turbulence of the water was also an issue. You had to really make sure that your water stayed calm and you didn't want to like nudge your vat by accident. And once you got the hang of avoiding diving your brush into the water, it was actually really relaxing just to play around with the patterns created by dropping the inks onto the surface of the water. The paper used to pull the print was a specific Japanese paper called Gampi, and it was the heavier weight version of this paper. But you could also just use regular old bond paper that you put in a photocopier. It'll just apparently suck more of the pigmented ink out of the vat, so you have to use up more ink.
Wow, that looks great.
Oh, it looks fabulous. I need a piece of paper.
Overall, it was just a really pleasant way to spend a rainy afternoon. We all took turns at different vats just to play with the different types of colors. And in fact, the vats improved the more they were being used. And over the course of the workshop, I managed to make just over 10 small sheets of marbled paper. Afterwards, I wandered down the streets of Spadina. Despite it being a wet day, Spadina is always really busy, and there were just lots of people out running errands or getting food. Eventually, I hopped back onto the TTC and made my way back home. Back in my studio, I unpacked my marbled paper to air dry. And of course, I couldn't leave the store without making a few purchases. How could I not when they gave the people who participated in the workshop 15% off coupons? I just picked up some of my favorite colored pencils that they just started carrying. I love these colors and I use them all the time for my Monday night open life drawing. And I also picked up a few tubes of gouache and also an etcher sketchbook that I've heard are great, but I haven't tried these yet. And of course, I bought a little Suminagashi kit, not so much for the marbling, but when I was reading the instructions I discovered that you can also fold the paper very similar to shibori fabric dyeing, which is a technique that I think I'll experiment with next. So I hope you enjoyed watching this slice of my Saturday here in Toronto. It was really fun to participate in the workshop, and I met some really nice people. So wherever you're watching this video from, I would encourage you to check out what workshops are hosted by any art stores in your area and try to participate, because it's just really important, especially if we are working alone, to try to find some people who share our same enthusiasm and experiences, because I think all of our art will just improve by participating in some kind of a community. So go try to make some art friends. Thanks for watching. Bye.